make introductory comments for about 3 minutes. Their answers to questions, we were asking them to limit those to 3 minutes. Got Mrs. Eggleston out here as our timer. I will alternate the questions so that no one person is stuck with answering the first question over each time. We'll also ask questions from the audience. I will split those questions because of the limited amount of time we have. I want to make sure that those what I consider to be the most relevant questions get asked, and they can find some of this very similar. And I've got some questions about what I want to ask. So let's get started. Let's start at the far end here. You want to do the introduction?
I'm Gary Toppinelli. I'm running for supervisor of the district. I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. We have people from Valley Springs, we have people from San Andreas, and I don't see anybody from Wallace out here. We do have some Wallace. No, we do. Sorry, I apologize. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Most of you might have read some, I've had some flyers about it. You might know a little bit about me. I've been married for 36 years to my wife, Denise. We got out of high school and got married. I have 2 sons. One of them is John. He graduated from Calaveras High School. And one is Gary Jr. I own a construction company, steel fabrication and erection, C51 license, contractor's license for the last 16 years. My wife and I have operated that company. Before that, I worked for a steel fabrication and erection company for 21 years. I started at the very bottom after I got out of the vocational training school. I was a hotshot kid, 18 years old, had welder certification papers, and I was going to go and make $1 million. And I got a job at a union company, and I started at the very bottom. The job that I took, it was the low man on the totem pole. After about 16 years, I worked myself up from the bottom to manage the company. We had about 250 people underneath me. And that's when I decided I would start my own company. The reason I got into the race was I spent 4 years as a grand jury investigating the backgrounds of government here in Calaveras County, and I felt that I could do a good job as a supervisor. When I was on the audit committee, I saw what the way money was being spent, because I felt I could do a better job as far as public safety, items, schools, and also getting a college campus here. Thank you.
Sarah?
Hi, my name is Sarah Daniel. I'm a managing director of the happy to see you here and meet you. I'd like to talk a little bit in my time about why I want to be supervisor of District 1, and a little bit about what I believe to be my strengths to do that job. Community service has just always been a part of who I am, and I just seem to find myself always involved in things and always getting up to my neck in being part of that. I think that I have something to offer, and I can be a full-time supervisor. And I have recognized over the last few years of just things that have troubled me about county government, and I just want to be part of that solution. So for the last 9 years, I've been a member of the Calaveras Unified School District Board of Trustees. District 1 school districts are part of Calaveras Unified School District. And I've come to know the communities very well, and I've come to know the citizens who are involved in schools. And I've been involved in schools actually for the last 27 years. When my children grew up and went through Calaveras Unified School District system. And I just want to say that I'm really proud of Calaveras Unified School District because they, in District 1 and in other districts, they have served as really a park and rec because of softball, soccer, swimming, etc. And also recently, Calaveras Unified School District has provided a library for the Valley Springs area for the children in the morning and the community in the afternoon, weekends, and during the summer. So another thing that I think would be of interest to you, our kids, our API and APY scores came out, and we are far above all state averages. And the reason that's important to you is because good schools mean property values are increased. So I'm very proud of that fact. I'm also a business owner in District 1 for the last 24 years. I have business, two small businesses, Showtime Video Museum in Valley Springs and a small business center here and a video store. And I employ 10 people, I make payroll every 2 weeks, I pay sales tax in Calaveras County. I'm in both communities almost every day, and I have learned to know the community through that venue also, and also the people as my customers. I'm president of the San Andreas Merchants, and our vision here and our goal is to support local business and to improve the visual and the perception of how San Andreas is. When you leave this event tonight, you'll see all the lights on the historic district. That's one of our latest projects and that we're really excited about and proud of. The underground lighting project is halfway finished. We'll be finishing that in 09. And we are the recent recipient of the transportation planning grant, which will hopefully be a very positive, I know it'll be a very positive thing for San Andreas. I'm involved in the Valley Springs Area Business Association, including the Visionary Council. And as far as the community goes, 4 years ago, I was a co-founder of the Citizens for San Andreas, which actually is the reason why our San Andreas Community Plan has started to be developed. And I'm very proud to say that we're just about, along with many other citizen groups, we really reached out to get as much public participation as possible. And we're about ready to bring that in a couple of weeks to
the latest been published out here is Patty Hennessy. She's with Calaveras Enterprise. Thank you, Patty. And the ladies out front were Aaron Mitchell and Maria Adams. They're a couple of our sales reps who were also here tonight on around time. Appreciate your help. I'm going to go straight to questions. Sarah, we'll start with you. I've got one. This year has seen a lot of controversy in the county government. What lessons have been learned?
I think what lessons have been learned, and I've commented on this before, is that we have laws, rules, ordinances, and policies that are in place. And we have some things that are not in place but need to be in place. I believe that we have systemic problems at the county level that need to be identified, addressed, changed, and so we don't stop. So we stop addressing the same issues time after time after time. We have citizen groups that are watching things that are going on, and they are wanting to hold the county's feet to the fire so they obey the rules. And we need to address this so we don't have to continue to address the same problems time after time.
Okay.
The lessons that are learned, or have been learned, I assume you're talking about the grand jury reports and the Stephanie Moreno debacle and the division between the board right now and that type of directed at. Well, I think one of the lessons that need to be learned there is united we stand, divided we fall. I think the lesson needs to be that we have to face some tough economic times going forward. Next year's budget is going to be very tight. There's a lot of heavy issues going on within the county right now, and we can't get them resolved being just divisive. I think the main lesson has to be that we have to pull together and resolve the problems that we face, not only here in this county, but at a national level. We as Americans have always done what it takes, and I think this is an example of time that we need to do that. I think we need to put our egos aside. I think we need to focus for the common good of the county. I think that's the one lesson that still needs to be learned, and I think we need to work towards resolving that.
Thank you. Gary, to start with you on this one. How do you respond to people who complain that specific local government policies hurt economic development here?
Deter economic policy?
Hurt.
It hurts economic development here. I tend to agree with them on some of that when they bring that forward. I think, years ago in this county, not that long ago, this county had a very healthy economy. They had the cement plants, they had the sawmills, they had the lumber industry going. So most of the people that lived in this county actually worked in this county. And it was a very vibrant economy. When those two industries died, there was nothing done to provide for jobs here in this county for the people that lost them, or even the people that have moved here, or the generations that have evolved. We've become a bedridden community, where 38%, almost 40% of our workforce leaves the county outside of it to go to work every day. The largest employer in the county is the government. Retail centers, we don't have, other than the Highway 4 corridor, we don't have a vibrant retail economy. So I tend to agree with that. That's what part of my platform is economic development. And to try and restore some historic value to here by bringing jobs back into this county so people can actually live here and work here in a balance of housing and jobs. So that's how I respond.
Thank you, Sarah.
Could you just repeat the first part?
How do you respond to people who complain that specific local government policies hurt economic development here?
Well, I think one of the misconceptions about all of that is that what's really stopping growth in our county and economic development is our infrastructure. And I think that probably does relate somewhat to some kind of policies. I think that we have not been forward-thinking, forward-visioning, planning enough to see some of these things coming. We haven't required the proper mitigation for some of the past developments for our roads or some of our water. We need to really consider bringing broadband into the county and picking up what we have. Because there are a lot of industries that would come here if they had the kind of infrastructure. They're not willing to come and pay for our deficiencies in our infrastructure. So I think there are plans. We need to really be a bigger player in the getting grants and that kind of thing from state and federal levels. There's money out there. We just need to figure out and learn and have the right people to help us get it. We need to get more involved in that. At the county level, as I said earlier, I think we have systemic problems. When a developer goes into the planning department to get a permit or whatever, we're not consistent in the information that we We also have some serious things like our public access, our slopes, those kinds of issues that need to be addressed and solved once and for all. It's difficult to understand sometimes why things take so long. And we have a lot of smart people, and I think we ought to use our human resources to come up with the ideas that we need to solve the problems that cause this kind of thing.
Thank you. Zero. If it becomes necessary to balance the budget, would you advocate raising taxes, and if so, which taxes?
I think that would be a last resort. I think that one of the things that has been addressed in the recent past is the fact that we've been subsidizing development to the tune of $1.62 million a year for many years now. I think we need to get our fee structures in line. We did some work on that in the planning department. We need to do some work on that in the building department. We can't run a business. I couldn't run a business by selling goods and services for less than it costs me to provide them. So that's what we need to, one of the first things we need to do. I think if any tax is addressed, I think we got to address the TOT tax, and that's for visitors that come into our county. They use our roads, they use our other facilities, and they just come and they go. They don't always leave all the money that it costs to provide those services. In terms of public service, there may be a time when we have to ask ourselves, and I mean deputies and I mean fire, we're going to have to ask ourselves where our priorities are. Do we want safe communities? Do we want to not worry about whether our home's going to be burnt down because our wonderful volunteer fire departments are on vacation or at work? I think those are some tough questions that are going to have to be brought up at some point and addressed to the public to see where the priorities of the public are. Because as you know, our budget is not in a position, we don't have the resources to fund pretty much what we have, let alone new stuff. In public works, we have 689 miles of road in Calaveras County that can't be taken care of properly. So we have some big issues ahead of us, and I think that these kinds of things need to be talked about. And I agree with Gary that you can't, as long as we aren't working together, we're going to stay in the same space.
Gary?
What was the question?
If it became necessary to balance the budget, would you advocate raising taxes? And if so, which taxes?
Well, as a supervisor, I couldn't raise taxes. All taxes would have to go through a vote. Although I'm in favor of raising the TOT tax, and I brought this up many times in the past, that what we charge here, TOT tax, which is transient occupancy tax, which is if you rent a county campsite, if you rent a hotel room, if you rent a room from a bed and breakfast, and that's generally, or if you rent a house up in the Arnold area or wherever, that there's a tax paid by those people that come out of the county to rent those rooms, that we're not in line with neighboring counties, we're not in line with a lot of other counties and local municipalities. We're at like 6%, and I think Amador is 9%, I think Wallaby County is 10%. There's some places in San Francisco area where you pay 18% TOT tax. I would certainly be in favor of that, but it went up for a vote a couple years ago, and it was defeated on the ballot by local residents. Raising taxes develops a budget. Certainly would have to go on the ballot, and that would have to be brought to a vote by people in Calaveras County. I think next year is going to be a very, 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 very tough budget. Permits in this county have seen, they're at 20% of what they were last year, and those permits are not for a lot of new construction. They're for decks and remodels. So that particular resource has dried up, and it's going to start showing. We had 10% this year cut in the budget. I see next year very tight. Thank you.
On that note, Gary, if you had to make deep cuts in county spending, where would you start? What specific cuts would you propose to county streets?
I would not cut public safety items at all. I think public safety is number one. I think contract employees would have to be looked at to be let go. And I think that the departments need to look at themselves and come forward and meet with department heads and go over what they can live with and what they can't. But public safety would have to be number one. I can't see cutting something that there's nothing to cut. The sheriff's department, there was a report that came out saying that we don't have enough deputies out there on the road now. They were going to take, at one point, they were going to take the bailiffs that were part-time employees off and use deputy sheriffs to do bailiff work, even taking further deputies off the road. I don't think that's possible. I don't think that you can do that. I think public safety, like I say, is number one.
Thank you, Sarah.
I would agree with Gary. I think there are fundamental things that citizens deserve to have, and public safety is one of them. Water, sewer, roads. Those things are fundamentally something that we should be able to expect from government. I think that this year the board of supervisors have talked about finding efficiencies in each department. I think that's a great place to start, because I think that if we can find out where we're spending money that we may not need to at this time, that's a good place to start. I think another area that we need to think about and consider is the county staff and the employees' morale. Because I think that when morale is high, productivity is high. And I think that there's a perception in the county and with employees that we need more transparency in our government, that we need to work harder on that. And I think that that may or may not help. I'm not sure. But I think in general, when you have employees that feel good about what they do, they work harder and there's more productivity. And along with the efficiencies, I know that every single department is in there fighting for their budgets, because every department has a valid point. Our public works needs more money for our roads and other services. Our auditor controller needs more people to work on the money portion. The assessor need help to collect taxes. So this is a tough question. I'm not sure exactly what the answer is at this point, but I think that we need to look very carefully at each department and very carefully at what we're spending and how we're spending it and what we're spending it on.
Thank you. One of the things that I said to the candidates when we were arranging this was that I give them opportunities to question each other. So let's do that at this point. Zero, do you have a question for Gary?
Gary, this is a big question out in the community all the time, and I just want to know what is in your
type of growth? Economic growth, residential growth, industrial growth?
I think probably all four. Residential, commercial, and industrial. Industrial growth relates to jobs, probably. Commercial and residential relates to jobs, also in the construction community. And I think they're all kind of interrelated.
What's the major reason for the slow growth? Well, I think the bureaucracy over in the CDA department put a lot of stop to this. It certainly put a great halt to a lot of projects that we're trying to go through there. Now that the economic times have turned the way they are, as far as development going in construction of residential housing, that's not going to, that's die on its own. But before that happened, the bureaucracy over there that was turning put a halt to a lot of it with the way you couldn't get a straight answer. You alluded to it earlier. When developers went over there to try and get answers and they submit their plans and so forth, that they'd come back and be given another answer that they have to do this now, and they have to do that now. And they never got a straight answer. And frankly, it slowed growth. We've never been known as a business-friendly county. We tried in the past a couple times with a economic development commission that did not, in my opinion, have the right people in it, and it detoured what it was trying to do. I think in Alamore County over there is a perfect example. If you get the right person in the right place, that it's going to help existing businesses expand by helping them get through the maze. If you have a person they can come to and help them work through the maze, and also help them get and secure SBA loans and funding. We don't have that here in this county. There's a lot of other counties that do, and I think that's part of the reason why growth is slow on all counts, as far as industrial and commercial.
Gerald, you want to comment on that?
Oh, I just want to maybe touch on that. In today's Enterprise, there was an article our last time together, and it was either a misstatement by myself or Ms. Grant that we were talking about the Economic Development Agency, and it was referred that I was talking about the Community Development Agency, and it wasn't. It was economic. I know who Gary's talking about. His name is Mr. Middlebaum, and I've actually met with him myself in terms of trying to see about some financing for business. And I think as long as it's not a government bureaucracy that we're funding through the general fund, I think that's a good idea. The Economic Development Agency from years past was pretty much a failure and didn't bring in a lot of business. But I think that if we can use what we currently have, also the Chamber of Commerce has turned out to be a lot more interesting than it used to be in my view. And I would like to see the Chamber actually utilize some of the smaller business groups such as San Andreas Merchants, Valley Springs Business Association, Angels Camp Business Association, and others to be part of that process, because there's a lot of people involved in that know what they're doing in business, and I think they can come up with some good ideas. As far as us creating a new agency, I'd like to see what we can do with what we have first, and maybe bring in somebody like Mr. Middlebaum.
Thank you. Gerald, you mentioned earlier that fees were structured by the county in such a way that it was a subsidy for developers for a long time. Is there a time when it's appropriate for government to subsidize development, and do you think it should help subsidize?
I don't think it should a summit that was held some months ago that the gentleman, Mr. Tim Johnson, was very adamant about the fact of what a poor idea that would be, because there's no guarantee that if we subsidize business that they're going to succeed, and who's holding the bag at the taxpayer. I think it's, as I said, being in business myself, and I know Gary's in business, you can't be selling stuff for less money than it costs you to have it. So I would advocate no net loss, no gain, just what it costs, and I think that's the way that we should proceed. Other counties have higher fees than we do, and it has not stopped development or economic growth. And I think we need to be smart as a county. We need to run our county more like a business, perhaps, and although it's really nice to not have to pay those lot higher fees, look where we are now. Our county's in some financial trouble, and I think it probably has something to do with that, from what's happened in the past years.
Gary, is there a time that government should help subsidize development?
Well, I don't know if that's a question you should be asking us. The president is trying to bail out the loan industry right now. I think that's a subsidy. The farm industry gets subsidies from the government. Am I in favor of subsidizing development? No, I'm not. I think that the county hasn't been charging the fees that it would take to run their department, and we have been doing that in years past, although they just had a fee hike, and I think it's more in line with what it actually costs people to run plans through and send out inspectors and get building permits and go through plan check. To me, if that would be the case, then it would have to be a special case that you would have that for some extenuating circumstances, which I can't fathom what would be for that to happen.
Gary, if the economy continues to worsen, what can a supervisor do to ease the burdens on the people here? If our economy continues to worsen, what can a supervisor do to ease the burden on the people here?
Ease the burden on people in economic times? Well, I think we could spend county funds to stock the food bank, subsidize senior lunches. That's a really tough question to answer, because easing the burden of economic times for constituents within the county. I think the fact that the services that are here and that are available to constituents out there need to be utilized. I think West Thomas has some computer classes right now that are going to be going on over the course of the next month or so.
3 months.
3 months? 3 months. I think helping them with food banks, pulling them together, working together, people giving to the food banks. I've heard there's been a lot of the food banks have been running out of food here in Calaveras County, that a lot of people have been going to them that had never gone to them before. And that's right now, in the times ahead, I think we need to look at how we can stock the food banks. That's it.
Thank you. Zara?
guess, through being on the school board and being in my own business is that I have no choice. We have no choice than to be thinking ahead and planning for the worst times, and having a reserve set aside for those economic down times. Not always easy to do. I know most businesses are hanging on by their fingernails right now, and some citizens are too. But it's a good lesson for the future that we need to be thinking right now. We need to be thinking what I said earlier about exploring grants and that kind of thing through the federal and state. There are monies available that are being allocated. Calverse Unified, we received hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last few years for our children programs, and that's because we had a top-notch grant writer. And I think that's something we should explore. If we could have a grant writer that could actually fund themselves, and we could get money to pay for some services that we now pay for out of the general fund, that might be part of a plan that we can think about. It's really difficult when you're sitting in the middle of something as dire as we are now, to all of a sudden come up with these great ideas of how to get out of that mud puddle. But I think that we ought to make sure in the future that we don't end up in this situation again. You never know what's going to happen from day to day, so I think planning and vision is a very important thing to keep at the forefront of our thoughts.
It's interesting that neither one of you mentioned public transit. We're doing this thing in District 4. Those guys wouldn't shut up about public transit. Zero, what do you think about public transit? Are we wasting money there? Should we continue to spend money on it?
I support public transit. I think it's part of what makes our communities what they are. I think it's one of the ways that we can help people that can't afford to drive their cars. We have a pretty sophisticated route system now, and I know more and more people are starting to use it just because they can't afford to drive their cars. I think we need to, again, find ways to help with that, but I would not be in favor. I would think that would be one of the last resorts that we looked at, because I think public transit is an asset in our county and our communities.
Gary?
Well, according to a recent mailing, I have no opinion on this. But I am in favor of public transit. I think it's a good thing. I think a lot of senior citizens use it. I was at the Senior Citizen Center over here the other day. I showed up for lunch, and there was a number of people that use it there. Russ Thomas, I had a conversation with Russ Thomas not too long ago about his trip one day he took public transit to work, and the number of school kids on it. That bus was almost full. I think there probably are some routes that there's not a lot of people using it, but I think with the economic times coming the way that we're looking at now, that you're going to see a lot more people using it. And it's a very good system, because you can call this system, and this public transit here in Calaveras County will come to your house and pick you up. Now, there's not a lot of other counties that have a transit system like that, where most of them you have to go sit by the bus stop wherever that is. But this particular system that we have, you can call ahead, and they will actually pick you up at your house. They will drop you off at your destination, and then they will pick you back up and take you back to your house. I think it's great, and I believe in it.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear you say more.
Thank you. Let's take a 5-minute break. Any questions that people in the audience have brought up? Take the order, but Gary, we'll start with you. What do you think about a San Andreas bypass?
What do I think about a San Andreas bypass? Angels Camp with Highway 4 and 49 intersection and taking 4 out of town, you're talking about taking the highway out of town straight through here. I don't think I would be in favor of the bypass. I don't think that's viable or feasible. I know there's a project on the books that runs from the highway up here down to the police station. I think Mike Delorto was involved in it. If you're talking about bypassing through the pool station road and going up that way, I think if you take, I think the town is with the highway going through it now is struggling merchant-wise. I think if you take the highway out of it, I don't think merchants, you would have anything resembling what we have now. They would even struggle further with bypassing town.
Sir?
I would like to see a bypass, whether you call it a bypass or a truck route, going around San Andreas. The reason is because San Andreas is sort of unique in terms of other towns in Calaveras County in that people come here because they have to, because of the hospital, the DMV, the government center, the high school. And one of the problems with being a San Andreas merchant myself, one of the problems is that we're a highway, we're not a town. And I think that that's how we're perceived, is someplace to go through to get somewhere else. With our mobility transportation grant that I was talking about earlier, we'll be talking about that in 2 weeks. There's an immersion week coming, and the public is encouraged to participate in that. And there's a number of things being proposed as initial proposal, and the public will have a chance to comment on that. And those are planted medians through town, angled parking, covered bus stops, bike paths, a number of different things that we think that will make San Andreas feel more like a town. It will slow traffic as you're coming through, address the issues at High School Street, address the issues when you come into town at Police Station Road, and also when you enter town from the east. So I think it would be a positive thing, and again, we aren't like other towns where bypassing the commercial areas would be bad. One of the things that I think is really bad about San Andreas is that the government sprawl into prime commercial space. Because not only inefficient use of money, but just about every valuable piece of commercial space is now where government lives. By the Umpqua Bank, that's all government, except for my bookstore. The old Winkler building is all government. We affectionately call the place at the end of town the Kettle Palace, all government. So for customer service and efficiency in government agencies, I think it would be better to have all government services at the government campus. But yes, I think that the bypass would be a positive thing in terms of the perception and the visual of the way centers could look.
Zero, what's being done about the Trinity project?
There's a hot potato. The revised draft DIR has just come out, and I believe yesterday was the deadline for public comment. I haven't had a chance to see that yet, what the public comment were. I've read I'm wading my way through the revised draft DEIR. But I think it's a very serious problem. I've commented on this before, that it's a poster child for what we should not do in government, how we should not have conducted ourselves. And what it's done is it's divided the communities, neighbor against neighbor, town against town. There are reasons on both sides that one would find reasonable, but I don't have an answer for that at this time. And even if I'm not sure it would be appropriate for vote in public before they have the opportunity to see all the materials. So, again, it's something that we need to look at very carefully and not ever let happen again. And this goes back to the systemic problems at the county level and other problems.
Zero, another part of that question is, have you been there yet? Have you gone out there?
Yes, I have. The Dallas Springs Business Association had one of their meetings there. I did go out and I did tour the place. It's very pretty. And we've got some very beautiful olive trees there. So I guess I have.
Gary?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What have you done about the Trinity House project, and have you been there yet?
Yes, I have been there, and what should be done with the Trinitas project is what's going through now. It's going through the secret process. That's what needs to be done. The public closing, or the public comments closing date, I think is still open. I don't think it closed yesterday. I think there's a few more days left on it. I think the public needs to get their comments in, like I said last week, and let the progress or the process do what it's supposed to do. The EIR is out. There's some mitigations that need to be done that he needs to address. I think he's involved in trying to get some of those done now. And then it goes through the planning process, and I think it needs to go through that process. That's what it goes through. That's what needs to be done. I think the public comment is very vital on this project. I think it's a very emotional issue for a lot of people in the county, especially in that area down there in this district. You have the pros and cons. You have both sides of it. I've seen both paperwork from both sides. I've heard from many people walking door to door in that area their views on it. And I encourage them, and every one of them, like I did the other night, that if they feel that strong about it, then their comments need to be known, and they need to send a letter to the county. That's the process. That's what CEQA is for. And I don't think it's too late right now for you to do that if you're out there and you do have an opinion on it. That all weighs into what happens in the process.
Gary, what do you think about big business coming to Calaveras County? As in Walmart, Orchard Supply, Costco, Home Depot? And if so, where? So please not stand in praise.
My personal opinion is I don't think a big box store is going to come to this county for probably a long time. I wanted to say my lifetime, but that may not be. Demographics are used by those big companies to determine where they're going to build. And the population in the areas in the county right now won't fit for them to put a big box store here. The draw, when they put the ones in Tuolumne County and Amador County, they do a circle around it. They decided where their draw would be. And when they put one there in Amador, they knew the draw would be from Valley Springs, the San Andreas area, Wallace area, including the Ione area, the cities in Amador. When they put the one in Sonora, they knew they'd get the draw from the Murphys area, Angels Camp area, and so forth. Now that they're drawing those people there now, the demographics wouldn't allow them. The only way that you would get one here would be one of their competitors. Their competitors like Target, Target wouldn't actually be considered a big box store as you think of Walmart. But even the demographics for Kmart at this time, I don't think it's possible. Although, these people, when they look at where they're going to go next and where they're going to build, they generally look for incorporated areas such as Angels Camp, because they know that area is primed for growth. They're going to increase their customer base. We're going to generally get some tax breaks for the city to entice them in there. And it's just prime for what they're looking for. That's the only incorporated area in this county. But the feasibility of that happening, I don't think that's anywhere near the future.
Sarah?
I don't think that any store that size will look at Calaveras County because it does depend on demographics. The Angels Camp Business Association, being the only incorporated city in Calaveras County, has come up with guidelines for big box stores, which I thought were very interesting, and also make it almost prohibitive if that will ever happen. They are going to require that there will be living space on top of the stores, and that they be part of a group, a cluster of other businesses, and that they have one tree for every 4 parking spaces, and a number of other things, which I thought were quite comical, because without saying no, they pretty much said no. But, you know, we have a great opportunity in Calaveras County with our community plans being done right now. Because what I hear when I go door to door and when I talk to people is that people want growth, businesses want growth, they want more goods and services to be able to have access to in our county. They don't want to have to spend a lot of money traveling to other communities and spending our sales tax dollars there. They want businesses here. And I don't think there's anything incompatible with doing that and still remaining, having the small town qualities that all of us seem to really value. And those small town qualities that bring tourism to our community. Now, tourism is one of the things that is really that helps drive our economy now and will continue to help drive our economy. Because people come up here and they like the scenic highways, they like the historical districts of each town, they like the open space, they like the oaks, they like the timberlands, they like the recreation, and they like our agriculture. All of the things that I think are assets for Calaveras County. And I believe that we can have the kind of growth that people want, need, businesses want, need, and still maintain those characteristics. Now, what kind of stores? Small business does drive the economy nationwide, but there are some stores like Mercury's, possibly Penny, some of these smaller big box stores that may be attractive. In the Valley Springs area, we've been trying to get another grocery store there since dirt, and nobody wants to come there because they just don't have the demographics that will support it. So, back to our community plans, I think that it's really important that all of us be involved in that, be supportive of that, to define the vision of what we want our communities and our little towns to look like, because that is what's going to be part of driving our economy. And we don't want to be like Amador and other counties where one town is beginning to look like another there's no definition between towns. So we have a great opportunity at this point.
Thank you. Sarah, Calaveras citizens apparently want the county to remain rural. Ranches provide most of the open space, but economically ranches are in trouble. How is this dichotomy to be resolved?
Well, right now, there's a group, the Farm Advisory Group, I believe, the Calaveras Farm, and there's one more, and I can't think of it right now, that have been talking and working together to come up with an agricultural element for our general plan. And there was a meeting not too long ago where it was advocated by a lot of big-time ranchers, which actually surprised me, that they want to loosen the requirements for the Williamson Act so people will be able to include their properties in the Williamson Act. We also have things like conservation easements, and we have land trusts that are possible where landowners lots of options. And I believe in property rights, so I think that the property owners have some choices now. And again, I think we need to have far visioning and insight and planning when we look at Calaveras County and what it might look like in 20 years, 30 years. Like I said a minute ago, Amador County has lost sight of that. And Calaveras County could very well be that diamond in the mud puddle that tourists flock to because we preserve those things that are unique, and that which makes us special and unique. And we can still have the development that we need, bring in the jobs that we need, the light industry, the commercial development, the stores, the goods and services that we all want. As a business person, it would help me to have more goods and services being sold in my area because maybe they might come to my store too. So,
Gary, the question is, the ranches provide us with open space. It's hard to run ranches economically.
It's hard to run ranches economically, is that what you're saying?
Economically ranches are in trouble. So how is this dichotomy to be resolved?
How is the economy to be? I can't.
How is this dichotomy to be resolved? How's this conflict between our desire for open space and the hardships that ranchers face? How do you resolve that conflict?
Well, I think there is some organizations out there, Farmer Vegetable Group and the Calaveras Grow, that are trying to tackle those problems right now. We have the farmers markets set up in several places in the county where the farmers aren't bringing their fruits to market and selling them. I think the wine grape industry is just starting to take off here in the county. I think that's a feasible way, feasible industry to grow here and keep things rural. I think that, well, part of the problem, as far as ranches and economically trying to feasibly keep them afloat, I think there's several ways. There's subsidies from the federal government. One of the problems that are facing some of the ranches are the beef, the cattle industry, and the prices of beef. It's a part of the situation where they're not getting. You go to the market and the cost of beef there is extreme, and the cost of beef, or when they go to sell cattle, is they're selling it for very low. I think that we need to look at ways to increase the price at the market when you take the market, and you have to keep the price down at the market when you go to buy it. I think that's all.
Gary, do you have a question you'd like to ask Zero?
Yeah. I had a question last week asked me about my campaign finances, and there was a press release about Zero's finances and what she was doing and how she was only taking donations from people. Yet, in May, before the primary, the first part of May, a flyer went out, and it did not have paid for by the committee to elect Zero McDaniels anywhere on it. It was never shown on any expense report, and the latest one was from June 30th. Now another flyer has surfaced, and it does not say who it's paid by, and it does not say paid by the committee to elect Zero McDaniels like it's supposed to if it's paid by our committee. So I think the question would be, who's paying for these flyers, and why wasn't the first one expensed on their expense accounts?
Well, I think if that's true, I apologize for not having one in front of me, but it's all paid by the committee to elect their own annual. As of tonight, you can look on my website and you can see all of the donations that have been given to me by individuals. The only thing that's not on there are my expenses, my in-kind, and I think that's all. Even the cash that I received from my fundraiser is on there, and I've chosen in a way to, I can say, well, I'm going to walk my talk, is that, and when I talk about transparency, I want to be completely transparent. I'm not afraid, I'm not ashamed of anyone who's donated to my campaign. I'm proud of the broad-based support I've received from individuals, whether they be developers, whether they be citizens, whatever. It's been costly because I have refused PAC money. And I don't refuse it to be rude, but I just find that can appear to be a conflict. Sometimes perception is reality to people. We will take a look at the flyers, and if that's true, it's a mission, and it's all been paid for by my campaign. And all of that is due next Monday, and will be turned into the county and the state. And any questions on that will be on the sheet of where any copying, any postage of everything that was spent on my campaign.
Here, I gave Cyril an opportunity to respond to the answer of the same thing.
Well, the one flyer was put out in May, the first part of May. Expense reports came out June 30th. It wasn't on there. As a matter of fact, their expense report said you took in no money and you spent no money. It was 0, 0, 0 all the way down, all of it, both sides of it. And on your website, it says that you collected money during that time. The FPP sheets are you sign under penalty of perjury. And you agree to fair practice, political practices by anything that was paid for by the committee is supposed to have it on any mailings that you put out. All of my mailings, everything that I've done, including mailers, all say paid for by the committee to elect. It was all expensed out at the time. There's places on the FPP sheets that say if you haven't paid for it yet, you still have to show the expense of it. It wasn't done. I think if you're going to be transparent, you're going to be truthful, then I think when you sign your name to something that you make sure it's correct.
The next question will actually want to go there to kind of take you there. The finance that I've seen was to be updated, like you said, on Monday. I don't think the last official filing is like June 30th. But looking at the people, the support who have been financing your campaigns, each of you have a very clear, distinct constituency. And so what is it that's different about you? And Cyril, this is your turn to go with this. But what is different about you and your opponent to make your supporters believe you're a better choice for supervisor than your opponent?
Well, I just want to respond quickly to what Gary just said. I did discover one bill for postage for $950.something. That what happened was that I sent a check to the post office. I didn't receive the receipt until after, so I am filing an amended return this time around, and I feel very comfortable about how clear and honest my campaign disclosures have been.
What is distinctly different about you that makes your supporters support you?
Well, I have a broad base of support, and them immediately that I could not accept PAC money, but I would like their endorsement. They told me directly that by giving money, that was their endorsement, and would I be willing to still support them even if I won? Well, I was just told that I was going to receive a check from the SEIU. I told them I couldn't accept the check, but I would like the endorsement. I think what makes my campaign different is that I have upfront requested, and in fact I returned some checks because they were written on business accounts. Not that I didn't need the money or want their support, but it was because of the way the check was written. And I'm trying to very hard to stay true to what my commitment has been. I think the difference is that I'm accepting money from individuals. I have in-kind things that are going to be shown from other constituents, and I'm very comfortable with who is supporting me.
How do we differ with the people that support us? Is that-
the people who do support you are different than the people that support zero. What is it that is different about you that draws those supporters to you?
Well, I think my ideas as far as economic development in the county appeals to a lot of people. I think the ideas about enterprise zones, an EDA here in the county appeals to a lot of people. I think that my experiences in business and construction background appeals to a lot of people. I have a ced1can contractor's license, and I've been in construction all of my life. A lot of the problems that this county has encountered over the course of the last couple of years or longer have been construction related. I think that appeals to a lot of people, that at least the seat would be filled by somebody that understands the process, understands construction, and has a business background, a strong business background. And that appeals to a lot of people when I talk to them. I do accept checks from companies, but I limit the amount that I accept from them. I don't think by accepting a check from a company that they're actually buying an election here at a local level by limiting that amount. I don't think they haven't asked for any favors, and I don't think they will. I think that they want somebody in the seat that has a knowledge of construction and has a strong business background in management, business management. And I think that's what appeals to a lot of people that have given me money. And I've been given a lot of money from individuals from all walks. I get checks in the mail from people with letters attached to them that said they read my mailers, that they saw me at the store and I stopped and talked to them. Some of those checks are $10, some of them are $5, some of them are $20, some of them I got one for $30 today in the mail. I mean, it's from people from all different walks of life here in Calaveras County, and that's what makes up this county, and that's what makes up this country. And I do not hold anything against anybody that supports zero, and I've gone to their doors and I've told people that, and we've kept it. When Kathy was here before the primary, all three of us were kept at a very honest level. Zero and I think, can say that we're friends and we don't despise each other. And I thank the people for at least listening to me that have Zero McDaniel signs in their yard when I go to door to door. I guess I'm being told to stop.
Some of these guys, mentioned enterprise zones, I have heard you say that before.
That's not the paper.
Pardon?
That's not the enterprise. Calaveras.
Not correct. The enterprise zone, but let's talk about enterprise zones for a second.
that's on the state level. That's not on a local level. The state created enterprise zones, and my company was in one. Give tax breaks to companies, and they also have some wage scale provisions in there where they'll subsidize some of the wages for the employees. But what they do is you put your company in the zone, and they draw a circle around it, and then you hire a large percent of your employees come from within that community. So, and if the company comes back and tells the state that we've looked in the circle that you've drawn us, and we don't have a lot of qualified people that we're looking for living there, then the state will subsidize the wages for a period of 2, 3, or 4 years, and it progresses up a less amount each year as employees become trained. So that's the benefits that you realize as a business in one of those enterprise zones, and as a community, because they're forced to hire people in the communities.
Well, and I ask, why don't you open your business here in Calaveras County to provide jobs?
Is that a comment or?
Not a perfect.
Gary, the county raised the sales tax, taxes earlier. In light of the infrastructure problems, would you favor raising the sales tax?
Again, the sales tax rate would have to be voted upon. 66% of the county or the area that the tax is being imposed upon would have to agree upon that. The infrastructure in this county, we do have a problem, and I don't think it's a short-term fix. I think it's been a long-term getting to where it's at, and the people that have been in the former seats didn't have foresight enough to see that we where we were headed in the way of infrastructure. I think that in order to relieve some of the infrastructure problems that we have in the county, I think public and private partnerships will have to surface where things like entities like CCWD partners with a development or a developer, and they take some of the surface water that's going to Stockton, such as Hogan Dam. We get 30,000 plus acre feet of water Hogan Dam, and had those rights for years since they built Hogan. And Stockton Water District, we only use about 4,000 acre feet. Stockton Water District takes the rest of our water down to Stockton. Those are our water rights. And I think CCWD needs to partner up with developers when they come in and put pipeline in and start the infrastructure that way as far as getting water and put in treatment plants with the developers to get that part of the infrastructure going. I think you'll find if a developer comes to the county and he wants to develop a certain area, if he's given plans as far as, like, say, Hogan Dam Road over there, there's no plan. Public Works doesn't have a plan for Hogan Dam Road. So if a developer comes in and wants to develop somewhere near Hogan Dam Road or anywhere around that area, he's not given a plan saying that you're going to have to pay part of the fees to upgrade this Hogan Dam Road. And I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with Hogan Dam Road, but it's over Costco's Creek. There's an antiquated little bridge that goes there. It's a very narrow road, the intersection of Highway 26. And that's used during the summertime when people take boats extensively. And yet the county has no plan on where they're going with that road or how to fix it. And when a developer comes here and wants to develop part of the area, they should be given a copy fully expected to pay his fair share to upgrade it.
Is there a lot of the county's infrastructure problems? Would you favor raising the sales tax?
I just got a notice in the mail the other day with my own sales tax return that I do every month, and there's a little note in there about raising our sales tax 1%. So instead of 7.25, it'll be 8.25. I don't know if and when that's going to happen, but given that, it might be a pretty tough pill to swallow for local citizens to have an additional sales tax increase. Having said that, I think going back to what I said earlier, at some point, sometimes we may need to go to the community and ask them what their priorities are and what are you willing to support. We're in a huge hole in our infrastructure, as I'm sure you know. Again, I think due to the lack of vision, forward thinking and planning in the past. This might be something that that may come to the citizens. Again, they have to vote on that. I'm not sure they will. The sales tax increase that I received in my return, it didn't ask anything about a vote. So if they decide to raise it at the state level, we may not have a choice with that. But I think, again, this is something that I hate to think about at this point. If we weren't going to get another increase from the state, it might be something a little more palatable to take care of some of our problems. Again, when tourists is a big thing in Calaveras County, and we have a lot of people coming up here. It would be nice if they were sharing in some of that expense if it were a sales tax or a fuel tax.
Zero, knowing that past practice dictates future efforts, please outline what you have done already to improve District 1.
Well, as I tried to explain in my opening statement, I've been involved in District 1 for 27 years. I've worked in the school, in the Calaveras Unified School District as a parent, and the last 9 years as a school board member. And I think that I'm very proud of what has been accomplished in that arena, not only with facilities, but with the academic progress of kids, with our fields and stuff that we offer for park and recreation. In the business community, I've been a leader in our business organizations, trying to encourage businesses to be part of that, and some of the things that we've tried to do for San Andreas. I'm very involved in the Visionary Council in Valley Springs, and we are working on what that vision might look for Valley Springs business community, as well as the Valley Springs Advisory Group, which is working on the community plan. This brings us to community planning, and I alluded to earlier that I was the co-founder of Citizens for San Andreas, and since passed that on to very, very capable other citizens, and they worked very hard to bring that to fruition, and that's just about ready to be presented to the community again and have them comment on it, and hopefully the Board of Supervisors will approve that. I don't know what it's like not to be involved in my communities, and I do consider both communities mine because I'm there in both of them every day. I have businesses in both of them, schools in all of the District 1 communities. So I don't know how not to be involved.
Gary?
Can you repeat the question?
What have you done already to improve District 1?
Running for supervisor. Actually, I was involved in grand jury, like I stated earlier, for 4 years here in Calaveras County, and some of the things that we did during that service, there was some problems down at the Foothill Fire, where they weren't even being able to hold their meetings at some point. They were so disruptive with the audience. They were really struggling to conduct business, and they had to be able to conduct the business in order to protect the people. And yet some of the people that were down there were just being very disruptive. So we wrote a report, was involved in writing a report and going down there and going to those meetings. And it resolved the problems to where they could get their meetings, through their meetings, pay their bills, and get their business done so they could service the county down there in that area. We also looked through a lot of audits that had to do with spending money in the county. At one point, my wife and I took over a fledgling feed store that a lot of people down in the Valley Springs and Person area, especially elder people, seniors, fixed incomes, and didn't have ways to get feed to their houses. We took over this fledgling feed store, and it was dying, and the people went bankrupt. We took it over basically to help the senior citizens in that area and deliver hay to them. We had at some point, sometimes some of the people that were regular customers and older people on fixed incomes that had animals, we didn't even charge them a delivery fee, and we gave them reduced rates on hay because we knew that they were struggling just to eat their sows, let alone feed their animals. You know, you can't tell them they can't have the animals, but at the same time, Phil, but we did that. We subsidized those people for 3.5 years when we could have walked away from it. We delivered all the way over to Bar 20 to some people, and we were at Southworth Road in Person. I think that was helping the community a lot in improving District 1.
Gary, as you want the district, what's the number one concern people were telling you about here in the county? And as a supervisor, what can you do about it?
Well, it depends on what area you go to. I walked Shadow Oaks a couple of weeks ago, and the number one concern in Shadow Oaks was they wanted a McDonald's. They wanted a place where they could go eat a hamburger and have a cup of coffee and not cost an arm and a leg. So their number one concern was there. Other areas in San Andreas, their number one concern was they wanted a grocery store, but another grocery store. Treats is great, but they would like to see another grocery store. But I think the number one pressing issue, immediate issue in District 1 is Cosco Creek. We're facing another winter right now, and that thing has grown even more. The overgrowth, they haven't touched it in several years since the last time it flooded out. Part of the debris down there floated down and blocked the bridge as part of the problem with flooding down there. The overgrowth is tremendous. I was over there the other day. It's another potential. If we have any substantial rains in the winter, it's another potential for flooding down there in those people's homes. And yet nothing's done. So another year gone by. We had a summer go by where nothing was done. I think as a supervisor that I would lead a coalition of people to Fish and Game and Corps of Engineers or any other agency, state level or federal level that we need to get relief for those people and get that cleared down there and that creek taken care of. There's also on the books down there a flood relief project between CCWD, the state, and the county. And right now the county is the lead agency for that project, and it's been partially funded through the state. And CCWD has some funds going towards that flood relief area down there. And I would lead that charge into that project and getting it started and seeing it through to finish. for the flood relief of that creek. Not only in the area where the homes are, but creek floods. Last year it flooded where, not last year, a couple of years ago we had the big flood. The whole motorhome, not motorhome, but the mobile home park down there flooded too. This flood relief project would take care of all that.
Thank you, Sarah.
One of the things that I hear the most in San Andreas is the cost of services, their sewer bills, their water bills. I think that that's a hard one to say that as a supervisor you can actually fix. But I think that what we can do as board of supervisors is that we can show leadership and bringing service groups, small service groups together to provide a better economies of scale for ratepayers. I also hear this in the Valley Springs community about the same issue. And I think that we have small districts that with very well-meaning boards that work very hard, but they just can't do it on their own. We need to have leadership to bring these groups together, to find common ground, to be able to work together. Another issue is the Cosgrove Creek issue, and it's very frustrating that it's taken so long to address this. In my travels along Huckleberry Road, I think, and so many of them down there. Anyway, there just about every home I went to was concerned about that because their backyard was backed up to Cosgrove Creek. So getting together with Fish and Game to find solutions, I think, is one of the first things that we need to do. And I think it's possible. I think it's time. I don't know why things have to take so long, but they seem to take so long. So those are the two biggest things that I hear, besides the fact that we do want more commercial ability to buy our goods and services here in Calaveras County, and I totally agree with that.
Sarah, which past or present supervisor is a role model for you and why?
My God. That's a tough question. I'll tell you what, being in this process has made me have a great respect for anyone who's willing to serve their community. It's a tough job, and you're never going to be right with everybody. And there's a lot of reading to do, a lot of meetings to go to. The learning curve is huge. So I guess, not to be a cop-out, but I guess I would have to say that I respect anyone who's willing to put their feet in the fire and want to do something for their community, and that's what I want to do too.
Eric?
Is that a question from the audience, or is that one that you put together, Buzz?
That's for you, sir. Which supervisor
Is my role model. I don't think any individual one of them is my role model. I think I look at past and present and take some from a lot of them, from all of them. I take my hats off to all of them to get to that position they made it to and got there. The process that we're going through right now is not an easy process to go through to get to that position. And then I think when you get to that position, you need to utilize that position constituents, not only of the district, but of the whole county. And I think you owe them right, you owe them at least to at every issue that comes up, that you take both sides of it, and that you follow the law. You ask the opinion of county council on anything that comes before you to make sure you're not getting the county in a situation where it can face litigation. I think you need to put your emotions aside on all of the issues and judge them on their merits. And of course, we've got two former supervisors and one current supervisor in the audience right now. So I don't know if that was a loaded question or not.
We're going to run out of time, so let's go to the summary statements. Gary,
Oh, summary. You know, I started this campaign back in March of this year, and we've gone through a lot of these forums that we're going through right now. I think we have one meeting tape tomorrow, and we have one on the 8th, and we're through them. And there's been a lot of good questions out there, a lot of good questions asked, and there's been a lot of interest, a lot of people out there. I'm glad to see you here tonight. I think that this process is a good process that's been derived over the years in the United States as far as electing an official. I think that more people need to get involved in the elections and voting on who they pick and understanding each candidate and how they feel on the issues and if they relate to you and how you feel. And make sure that you do your investigation and you do your homework, because you people are the vote. You're going to win or lose this election for either Gerald or myself. All the fancy flyers, all the propaganda, all the questions, certainly not. We try to keep it no dirt flying here, but that's not going to win the election. It's people voting and people getting out there and vote. There was a lot of people over the last primary that got mail-in ballots and have not mailed them back. So you need to get out there and vote, because you are the people that are going to decide this. It's not all the money being spent. It's not all the fancy signs that are out there. It's not any of that. It's the people that are deciding and how they feel about their candidate that they chose. They want to represent them. And I think I'll leave it at that, because I could talk about myself and I could summarize a lot of the stuff that we've covered since March, and I could go on and on for the rest of my 3 minutes, telling you why I'm the best candidate that's sitting up here. But it's going to come down again to you voting, the voters out there. Thank you.
I would like to thank everybody for taking your evening to be here, because it is an important process. And Gary and I spend a lot of time doing this kind of thing and out meeting people, and which is an important thing. One of the premises of my campaign has always been public participation and listening to the people, telling the truth, obeying the law. And I believe with all my heart in that process, because that's where I come from. I come from as a public participant, and that's how I became involved in this campaign. It's an important time, not only nationally, statewide, and countywide, for us to care about what's going on in our government. I think one of the most exciting things that's happening, in the last year or two is the public has been engaged. This wasn't happening. There were times, from what I understand, of Board of Supervisor meetings when you might have had 1 or 2 people there listening. And I think that the people being part of the process, the people caring enough to go to meetings, to educate themselves on what's happening, is how we will have a successful government, a successful process that we want to have happen. It's pretty exciting. And one of the most pleasurable things that I found is as scary as it seemed at first, was going door to door. Because not that you're going to get every vote that you need, but it's sure been a pleasure to meet those people and to hear what they have to say. Because that will make a difference when you make decisions. Is you're not in a vacuum when you're sitting on the Board of Supervisors. You can't make a quality decision just by listening to 1 or 2 people, or just by your own instincts. You have to be out talking to people, you have to be listening, and you have to care about what the people, the citizens of Calaveras County care about. As a supervisor of District 1, you're not only voting on District 1, but you're voting on 2, 3, 4, and 5 also. So you have to be aware of what's going on everywhere, and you have to care about what